If I had the testimony, I had the miracle. And this happens in discipleship all the time where people are like, well, I'm not good enough or I'm not whatever. It's like, you weren't, but you're qualified not through your own actions or inactions or brokenness. You're qualified through Christ. And he calls us in the same way that he hid us in himself. And so for parents to know, like, hey, your testimony is for God's glory and it's not meant to be hidden.
Hey, housewives, come on in. You know the dirty dishes are still in the sink from yesterday and the laundry is still in the basket. Pop your AirPods in and make yourself at home here.
I'm Tracy.
I'm Tori.
And we are your Unlikely Housewives. Stepping out in faith and believing that God calls the unlikely, we are here to show you the appreciation and validation you deserve, lead you to authentic relationships, and release you of believing the cultural lies to restore your faith and wellness.
Pull up those high-waisted yoga pants, tighten your top knot, and reheat your coffee for the third time. Turn up the volume, and let's go. Hey, housewives.
Hey.
Oh my goodness. Another great match from Podmatch. Thank you, Podmatch. We are getting connected with so many good people who we can't even fathom. Like, they're not even ideas in our brain. Like, we don't even know that we need them or want them. And God just goes, here you go. And we're like, oh.
And what's really funny is when we start, like, we find these guests on there and we start reading about what they do or, what not industry that they're in, but like whether ministry and if they've written a book or what their podcast is, all the things. We're like, oh, we were just talking about that last week and we need more information on this. So again, another one of these. Josh is amazing. He's a pastor out in Connecticut and his testimony alone is amazing, just how he came to know the Lord. And it was, after hardship. And he is a pastor, and his purpose right now with our podcast was the book he has just written called Parenting Against the Current, which we are currently doing.
Yes. And we told him we'd be more than happy to help with part 2 when he gets to the teenager years, because he's got an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old. But again, so many just nuggets of wisdom and things that are like, you can go, okay, I can implement that today.
Yes.
Like, it's not replacing the Bible, the word of scripture by any means. And he said that there's great books out there. He, by no means is he saying this is the end all be all. But again, I mean, the way that just God used him and his co-author to create this book to just give us, like, I need action items. Like, I know that I want to raise a child that loves Jesus. That's all I want.
I know.
At the end of the day, I want them to be self-sufficient, not live in a cardboard box, and love Jesus. That would be great. But, and I think that's what the goal is for all of us.
Yeah. And I think this episode is just empowering and encouraging and full of nuggets and resources. And just, even just some of our, personal stories we throw in there just from our own parenting fates, whatever we've experienced.
Fails. That's a better word.
There we go. From all of our parenting fails.
Yes.
And how we've learned.
Yes. And I absolutely. And at the end, I do want to say too, that I talked about just, I don't know about you, but for me personally, when I hear, I just need to be more intentional about parenting, I feel like great. That's just one more thing I need to do. But don't make it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can really just be God working on your heart and you just making a slight change in your day-to-day. And that is how you're parenting, because he does. The examples that he gives are not like, okay, we're going to sit down and have a family dinner and that's how you're going to, it's not one of those. It's definitely just the little stuff that is totally doable and not overwhelming at all.
And we hope you enjoy this episode. It is for the one who needs help with parenting.
Hey, housewives.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back. Oh, we have got another fantastic for the one. episode for you guys today. And like Tracy just said before we got on here, she was like, our guests, we kind of do selfishly. We find the people that we could learn from and need help from. And we say, hey, you want to be a guest on our episode so we can have a free counseling session for 45 minutes? And it works out great. And this has been wonderful for us. Thank you for your volunteer, Josh. I'm going to let Tracy go ahead and introduce him.
Yes. Well, first we like to thank Podmatch. We have continued to meet incredible guests through Podmatch. That's how we were connected with Josh. And is it Poteet?
Josh, you nailed it.
All right. He is the lead pastor of 180 Life Church in West Hartford, Connecticut, author of Parenting Against the Current, and he's an Army veteran. Josh regularly teaches on equipping parents, empowering disciples, training leaders, and helping families embrace their role as primary disciple makers. His passion for family discipleship is shaped by his personal experiences as a father and his years of walking alongside parents as they raise up tiny disciples. I love that. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you both for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to be the pastor of where you're at now.
Yeah, on accident, really. Like I didn't get here by my own plan. I feel like God often looks at my plans that I wrote down in crayon and he goes, well, that's really cute, but I've got another way for you. So I was initially working EMS. I loved it. That's where I wanted to be. And God was calling me into ministry. People kept bringing it up. And I was like, that's awesome. But I'm going to lead a really good Bible study. That's what I'll do. That's how I'll serve. And God was just clear, like to me and to we were newly married. My wife also saw that calling as well. We were both very nervous about it, but we stepped into that. Fast forward. We've got 2 kiddos now, and about a little over 2.5 years ago, God was really kind of calling me from the position I was in at a larger church in Houston to go lead a church. It's something that I had been talking with my lead pastor for a while, and he affirmed that and like invited me into conversations that like truthfully I had no business being a part of other than it was training ground, and it was a chance for me to see what it looks like to lead in that capacity. And it's funny, a lot of people up here in Connecticut don't even know this, but I actually, and my wife makes fun of me, she doesn't believe me, but I accidentally applied for this position. Like I didn't actually mean to.
You accidentally applied for this job?
I did. Yeah. And so what happened was it said, hey, do you want more information? And I was like, sure, I want more information. And they're like, all right, plug in these details. And I was like, done, did it. And they're like, thanks for applying. We'll get back to you. And they're like, what on earth just happened?
Like, my resume, I didn't touch that. That was like, what?
It wasn't even a part of it. And so I told my wife, and she's like, well, you did it again. And then had interviews, obviously sent them my resume somewhere in that. And man, like it was quick. Like it was within a month, we were on a plane flying out here for me to teach. And that was the final part of the interview process. It was insane. God was all over it. We didn't want to move to a place where it snowed. Like this is not where we wanted to be.
Amen.
But there was something really cool, like being in Texas, which is where I was for that 5 years prior. It was a lot of people identifying as Christian, and part of evangelizing the community is saying, like, convincing them that they're not. Of like, hey, no, this is not what Christianity is, and being a disciple of Jesus is. Whereas here, there's no benefit in New England to being a Christ follower outside of it being true. Like,
interesting.
You're not going to be a successful realtor or politician here because you identify as a Christian. And so, like, the people who are in the family of God, more often than not, are actually a part of the family of God, and they're pressing in, they're taking ground. I like the clarity in that. Different people are called to different places, and it being that, like, the battle lines being drawn and like trying to like pillage the gates of hell for souls for the kingdom. That's exciting to me. And so we're excited to be here. Been here for 2 years, and God has been showing off over and over again.
That's amazing. I mean, and let's just shine a little light on what was your wife's perspective like? Obviously, you guys felt God in the process. You know, was there peace all the way through? Was she like, you're doing what? We're moving to where?
Yeah. My wife is my brakes in a lot of ways. I'm all go, and she's the, hey, let's slow down and let's just make sure that we're doing the right thing here. And so there was a lot of that in this. And
Yeah.
like, she is such a gift to me for that, because I need that discerning voice. I'm Peter, like ready, go, set. Like I'm already in the water before I think through it. And so she was like, hey, one, why did you apply to Connecticut? Like, why did you do this to us? But two, even after we got the offer, it was just really cool for her to say, hey, I'm taking a week. And like, ours is a God of unity. And so there was no scenario where she was like, I don't think God's calling us here. And we went. Like, it needed to be we're moving together and we're called.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I need a week. And I was like, I think he said yes. And she's like, I need a week. And I was like, awesome. Like, you go talk to the people that you're in discipling relationships with, get counsel, pray, we'll worship together on Sunday. And then at the end of that, she just felt this relief and this peace about, like, yeah, this is where we're supposed to be. And what's been really generous of God, because it doesn't always work this way. And this last year has actually been like, it's been a horrible year. It's been awful. The spiritual attacks have been insane on our family. And yet, over and over again, she and I have both seen like God just saying, like, absolutely, I've called you here. Like, this is the place that I want for you. And that's really generous of him, because sometimes he calls you once and like, you're meant to trust that call. And maybe it's because I'm a little dense. He's like, hey, I'm just going to keep reminding you because I know this is difficult. Yeah.
No,
that's cool.
We forget the all the things that God doesn't have to do, but does anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just where we're like, okay, you brought me here, but then you, like you said, sometimes we do need that reminder, like, I'm going to continue to affirm this because you're going to have self-doubt. You're going to question yourself. You're going to question that I'm not in this. And we do just like sometimes the things of just like, thank you, Lord, just for reminding me and giving that grace and that mercy of just something as affirming that what you called me to was this, and I'm in the right spot.
Yeah. We've made those big leaps, and just whether it's buying a house or moving, both of us, we had big moves up here. Or I say up here, up for you, down for me to Kansas.
Yeah.
I'm from Illinois. She's from Texas, and we both are transplants here. But that move was like such pivotal moments in our marriages because we were moving, and agreeing. But man,
young children.
Yeah. And it was, and I always say this. Yes. And I'll just add to your whole, like, one of us always in our marriage is like on it. And then the other one's like, oh no, and then you have to just like take that time and get back on every phase, all those things. It's been one or the other of us. And you're right. It is such a good place to be in for that. Like, put on the brakes and let's go, like, it's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like I've seen a lot of marriages wrestle through that of like, man, like, I want to go, and the other one's saying slow down. And if we can see that there's such a benefit, like, praise God, my wife is not just like me. Like, I would be far less effective. She would be far less effective for the gospel. Like, he brings, like, he created a partner for me, for Adam. And if we can view it that way, man, what a gift it is to have a discerning bride or a husband maybe who is discerning, and whatever it is, man, balance is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we obviously found you on Podmatch and because of your book. So let's just highlight that real quick. And then let's just talk about your, discipleship at home kind of, because that's very important to you. It's something that you guys talk about in your church. So your book is called Parenting Against the Current. Is that correct?
That's it. Yeah. That's
all right. And how did you say, all right, I'm going to write a book on this?
Same way that I got into ministry. I didn't, and God like surprised me with it. So what happened was, I mean, initially my daughter was born, and when she was born, I had never been discipled in the home. I had experienced discipleship as a young Christian, like early Christian, like a year prior to that. And so I was like, I know that this is the plan, but I don't know how to integrate this into my home. And so then I'm trying to figure it out. I'm asking people, and there just weren't a whole lot. Some people had great answers, but most people were like, we don't really know. Meanwhile, I'm leading people in the church in a student ministry, and I've got parents coming up to me asking me like, hey, how do we do this? So I'm like, all right, we have to have a plan. Like, we have to have something mapped out to equip parents to do this. And so that started like some trainings that I started doing, and it started as a blog, and I couldn't stop writing. And it got to the point, and my co-author, Matt Nations, who is the best dad that I know, like so intentional, I looped him and I was like, dude, you got to start helping me with some of this stuff. And we start going and we're like, this isn't a blog. Like we're 30,000 words in at this point. Like this is
Yeah.
a little bit more than a blog. And so then we were like, all right, let's pray over it. And we landed on like, hey, this is a resource that we need to put out in book form. And so that's how we got there. Again, wasn't the plan, but God's good. And we're grateful to get to be a part of it.
So how long were you raised in a Christian household?
No, I would call us Jesus adjacent. We called ourselves Christians, had no idea what that meant, weren't actively participating in a church. There were times where we went, but it was mostly because my grandparents wanted us to go.
Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter, CMEs.
Yeah,
is what we got.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. And there wasn't any Jesus talk in the home. And I remember like several distinct times where I asked about my parents' faith, and the response was like, hey, that's incredibly personal, which is true. It is personal, but that doesn't mean private. And that's what was kind of conflated together in my house. And so I wasn't a saved Christian until my early 20s.
Okay. I like that distinction actually, because that's been a conversation I've had with others as far as like early on in my marriage, the conversation was like, where are you with Jesus? And it was, that's extremely personal. Like you don't get to, and was like, well, no, but it doesn't, but I should know as your helpmate, as half of this covenant, what 1/3 of this actually, because it's you, me, and God in here. Like I should know us 2/3 of where you are. So, and I think it's helpful. And it's not like the wife is wanting to, or the spouse is like, wait, I want to know where your heart is in this or where you are with the Spirit. It's not because I'm better than you or I'm going to more Bible studies.
Totally.
Than you. It's just a matter of like, hey, where's your level of faith? Because sometimes I can walk off the cliff and be totally okay because I know that God will figure out a way to stop me from crashing to the ground. And then sometimes it's like, I'm just working on breathing.
Yeah.
Let's just make sure the next breath is there. So, but okay. So you didn't have an example of a Christian household. Your co-author, did he grow up in a Christian home?
He did. He grew up in a Christian household, so he saw it a little bit differently. Discipleship still wasn't in play in the home. He came to Jesus later on in life as well.
Okay.
But he was actually the guy when I first gave my life to Jesus, bumped into him coincidentally, like 4 weeks later, and he ended up discipling me and really kind of leading the path for me. And a lot of the model that he used just came from what Jesus did with his disciples. And so it's just translating those things into my life and then figuring out, well, how do these same things that Jesus did, how does it meet our kids, whether they're a 2-year-old or an 18-year-old about to go away to college?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. If you met him, and for those that are not watching and listening, he did quotes for coincidentally, because he knows that was clearly God's plan.
Yes.
How did you guys decide when you came together for this book and say like, okay, obviously you're using your personal experiences, you're using obviously the word of God to come to be put into this book. Did you seek mentorship from other people who were, because this is something that I'm like looking for those parents, those older parents that have still kids or have raised kids that all follow Jesus, as well. So it's like, okay, what did they do in their home? Was that something that you guys navigated before writing?
Yeah, I would say that my biggest contribution to the book is talking about how I have totally messed this up and looking at my failures and using that as a place to help coach people to do better than I did. Whereas like the heartbeat of this, we even have an entire chapter on it that it takes a village to raise a parent.
Yeah.
Like there needs to be community wrapped up around us in our life stage, but also life stages ahead and behind that I can be helping lead others to where I am. And so even when Jenny was pregnant with our firstborn, one of the first things I did after I found out she was pregnant was I looked at the young adults ministry I was in, looked for young adults who were deeply in love with Jesus, and I asked for their parents' phone number.
That's awesome.
And I said, hey, what did you do? Remember a specific meeting I had with this guy. Like, hey, what did you do? And he started walking through like, here's what I did really well. And he had the humility to say, here are some pitfalls that we figured out along the way. And so we had the same mentality for this book was we cannot speak to every area of parenting from our own experience. And although scripture does encapsulate every experience, I would also say that there are just specific nuances that it would be great to have a perspective. And so I sought out, and so did Matt, the counsel of several parents who were just crushing it with discipling their kids, whether their kids were in different life stages. A big gap that we had was like, we don't lead blended families. And I know that blended families are like, there are parents in that situation that's trying to figure it out. And so we got perspective from parents who were doing that and crushing it. And so there were a lot of different areas that we pulled from, because on our own, we're still in the trenches. Like we don't even have teenagers yet. And yet we want to to help equip parents in any life stage to be able to take kingdom ground in their home.
Yeah. I have a feeling there'll be a part 2 to this book, the teenage years, or at least I hope so. We'll be sure I will help contribute to all of the things that don't do this. Yeah, right. That is insert.
Well, this is how we learn. This is where my husband and I, we always say, like, hey, we are learning what not to, or what to do by what we did and wrong, like, and they're like, hey, I always tell my kids, it's like yesterday morning, reached around, I'm driving, grabbed my son's leg. And I was like, buddy, I'm really sorry for the way I acted this morning. I was completely triggered when you came downstairs and it was not your fault at all. I love you. Have a good day, school. And I'm like, I will not tell you what I said before I made that apology, but I'm doing it. Like, it's so hard. I mean, I have 4 kids, 3 teenagers. And it's like when one is overslept, it completely rocks the whole day, because that one was the driver. Love you. I forgave him. He apologized. But still, it's like there's something that like, and I was triggered, and I have to figure out in this day and age how to not, but I am apologetic. That is for sure. I'm asking for forgiveness because I know it's wrong.
I love that so much, though, because even what you just described is a form of discipleship. Like, I think we have this idea of, if I'm in any level of leadership, I need to be perfect, whether it's the job or you being a parent. I need to have it all together and present myself as perfect. And what that tells our kids is that they need to be perfect. And it just takes an ounce of shame to own a tiny heart. And if they're trying to be perfect, they're going to be owned by shame, because they're not going to reach it. That's the whole point of the gospel is we can't do it on our own. And so hearing you say, yeah, I messed up, and seeking forgiveness, like, will you forgive me, should be, my kids should hear that from me more than they hear it from anybody else, because I'm around them more than most people. And modeling that humility, it's such a cool, beautiful example of shepherding the hearts of your kids. So good on you.
Yeah. Thank you.
She's done lots of therapy, so I don't have to.
Yes, I passed it on.
Yes, she's one stage ahead of me with the teenagers. I'm on the brink of teenagers with the 12 and a 10. And so we do find, she's like, all right, just get ready. We're in the first year of middle school. And she's like, I'm so glad your child had a great first couple of days. She goes, but it's going to suck. It is so going to suck, and it is going to be hard, and it is going to suck. But you're going to get through it. I didn't say it
that many times.
She was very emphatic, like, this is really going to be
I love
hard.
it. Just bringing you back to earth.
Yeah.
And it was just a moment, because she's like, well, I haven't heard anything yet. I think it's going great. I was like, it's
I also know it's like, I'm like, we're 3 days in. So, I mean, but it is just like let me enjoy the moment.
I know. I should have let her have it for a second. Yeah, clearly, she caught me on the wrong day.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Well, we want to hear more from you. So tell us, obviously you're leading your church. You guys have different forms of ministry, like most churches, youth, student, young adult, however that looks. What does it look like for the parents? Is it something that you guys are just naturally doing through small groups, through, a different avenue? What's that look like?
Yeah. So our mission as a church is to make and send disciples who love and live like Jesus. And our mission statement isn't just a bumper sticker for us. It's a filter that we push everything we do through. So whether it's student ministry, young adults, partnering with parents, all of it is about, how do we empower you to be the disciple maker that God has created you to be? Which means that there's a cascading communication wherever we are, echoing the same message. And the message goes like this for parents is, we are not here to disciple your kids. That is what God has placed you to do. And rather than trying to delegate that role to the church, allow us to partner with you. Like, we want to equip you. We want to partner beside you. We want to be there in the struggles. And so part of it's just inviting those conversations and bringing a clarity to, just because your kid's at kids ministry for an hour once a week doesn't mean that we have the ability to disciple them. Like, there are too many kids, and that's far too little time each week for us to do an effective job. You have the most influence in your house. Use that influence to shepherd the hearts of your kids. And really, it kind of boils down to, with that language really being echoed in every ministry, it boils down to, now we need to equip you. We can't just say it. We need to kind of have the rubber meet the road. So we got different trainings that we do. Our kids ministry director, she crushes it with partnering with her volunteers and having parent trainings of just empowering parents to be those disciple makers and giving them tools. Because I think that's the big issue.
Yes, that's awesome.
Most parents are like, yes, discipleship, I'm in. Like, I love Jesus. I know I'm called to it. What does that mean? And that's where we want to get practical and not just use words, but say, hey, this is what it can look like. And so really, it's putting tools in the hands of parents on a regular basis and then echoing it. Because if I say it once, nobody remembers it. I have to say it like 100 times. And then like, once they get tired of hearing it, that's when I've done a good job communicating it.
Yes, that's parenting.
That's it.
I'm pretty sure that's what Jesus did. I am pretty sure that it's the same verbiage throughout the entire Bible, just over and over again.
Weird how that works, you know?
Yeah,
crazy.
Oh, I know. It's like he knew something about that. So is your book a resource of tools and practical tips for those that may not be in the Connecticut area, such as ourselves, or in Kansas, but that we could, like, this is something that you can pick up and read and go, this makes sense. This is a little piece that I can implement today.
I mean, that was the whole target of the book, was not just talk missionally, but get like, how do we get the theological heady things to meet the people who are actually on the ground? And that's the whole aim of the book. And honestly, I'm happy to share anything on this podcast to you, because for us, it was never about having a New York Times bestseller. It was always about, we just want to empower parents. Like, whatever that looks like, we want to equip and empower parents to be the disciple makers they were created to be.
What do you think is the biggest issue that parents come up against? Obviously, right now, it's just the general culture, right? But what do you think it is? Do you think it's more, the technology? Do you think it's the temptation of, all sins, like all things, the sex, pornography, alcohol, drugs? Like, again, I'm on the teenage level, so forgive me for saying all that. But again, we're also talking about like the younger kids, like parents are facing hardships with how to manage, behaviors and training them up right so that they aren't talking back. And,
I would throw in one other, like, with that, all the things, like, is it one of those things, or do you think it's part of the complacency of where the church has gotten, therefore, as, because I would say Christians, we're so, like you said earlier, like, there are a lot of people that show up to church on Sunday in the South that are just, they can speak Christianese all they want. And you can think that, but have no relationship with Jesus. So I would just ask something else, like, or is it just that they know the words, but don't actually know what it is in action?
Yeah, I think I'll speak to American culture, because I think different countries have different stumbling blocks and different currents that they live in. For us, our kids are born, and this is probably true universally. When your kids are born, you're just trying to survive. Like, you're just like, I don't even know what to do with this new creature in my home. How much sunlight does it need? How much water should I give it?
Yes. Sleep.
So you're trying to figure it out. And you're not sleeping. And so what you do, you get into this rhythm of just treading water. The problem is, when you're treading water in a current, you're being taken by it. And the only way to move against the current is to intentionally move in a different direction. And so I'd say that's a big part of it. The other piece is time. I think time is the biggest cultural struggle that we have. If you ask anybody right now, hey, how are you doing? Their response is probably going to be, because they don't want to spend a ton of time and walk through all their stuff, they're going to say, good, but busy. And busy is like this badge of honor for us. And so what we do is we fill our schedules. Our schedules lead us. We don't lead our schedules. And then we leave this hurried lifestyle that has us rushing around everywhere we are without actually ever being able to be present. And when we're not present, we're robbed of intentionality, which is exactly what's required to push upstream. If you're not being intentional, like nobody drifts closer to God in this world. I think heaven will be different. I think we'll drift to God in that, but the default of this world pulls us away, meaning that we have to be intentional, and that's time, that's commitment. And for us, I think this kind of goes into the other piece of it is there's a consumer mindset in American culture that has bled into Christianity that says, all right, I got my weekly dose of Jesus. I showed up on Sunday. I checked the box. Now I can go do all the other things. And they're good things. Like it's your kid's travel sports team and gymnastics and that spelling bee competition, whatever it is. And we fill up the schedule so much that we rob ourselves of intentional moments and intentional conversation. And when those moments show up, we're so tired from all the busy that we're not willing to actually engage. It gets a lot of marriages in trouble, and it definitely has impacted parenting in our culture today.
I would agree with that. It's funny. Yeah. That's not the first thing that I would think of is time, because that is what we battle the most. But, I think my initial jump was just the cult, but again, it is culturally, I think a little to that because it is what we're around. I don't know that what we're doing right now in our life would necessarily be what our initial intentions were, with kids and sports and travel sports and all the things, but it is absolutely like, how are you protecting your time? And I started this, she hears me talk about this all the time, but like a couple of years ago, I really started this whole I need my peace. And it's not like I need peace and quiet so I can just sit and have coffee and read a book. Like I need in my life to feel and have a sense of peace so that I can give that to my family and my marriage. Like I was on that hamster wheel, totally on the hamster wheel of going from here to here, driving my kids, snacks in the car, blah, 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 just all the things, and did not have a sense of peace at all. But I started that. It was probably actually 3 years ago now, because that was kind of really what I was gravitating toward when we started the podcast. I was leaving from one spot and, one calling and hopefully into this other one that we've been doing. And the one thing that I realized was I had to figure out where my noise and distraction came from. And it was social media. So I gave up social media a year and a half ago. And that it took me 6 months to finally do. It took me 3 tries to give up social media. God and I, we were talking, we were spending lots of time together going, why can I not walk away from this? And then once I finally did, it was hard. It was hard. I mean, those first 60 days, I had to replace that noise and distraction with the peace that I wanted. And then I also had to figure out what my relationships looked like, because everything changed there, because it was that natural, I'm connected with people on there. But then all of a sudden it stopped. I didn't get text. I didn't get calls. I didn't get communication because everybody was just using social media for that. So then it was okay, I'm going back old school. I'm going to text my friends and tell them, hey, I'm off social media, but I would love to stay in touch with you, and I would have to pick up the phone and schedule coffee phone calls. But I mean, it is literally that is that is just, I think the piece that I gained from the time suck, I think has helped me in this season. So that's just I guess randomly a piece of advice just to throw out for parents, but that's not everybody's issue. It's just where my time was. Because when I would have downtime, that was my device. That was my go-to. And that's not what I essentially wanted. So I'll just throw that in there.
That's awesome. I love that.
Well, I think that to your point is we busy ourselves so much so that then when conversations can happen, we're too tired. We're to actually be intentional about it. It's like punishing your kid, disciplining your kid. Okay. Punishing too. But it sucks for the parent. That's what the kids don't understand. If I have to ground you and tell you can't go to Susie's birthday party, please understand that while yes, you're unhappy that you don't get to go to Susie's birthday party, but I'm having to make sacrifices to discipline you in this aspect. And I think a lot of it is we have forgotten that's part of discipline, is that it sucks for the parents too. And that we have to make the sacrifice because you're not going to Susie's party. Now I don't get 2 hours to myself to run all the family errands, to go to the grocery shopping, and I have to change my schedule, all the things. So you know what? Fine. You can just go to Susie's party. Well, what does that teach them? Absolutely nothing. It just teaches them like, okay, well, if I complain enough, I'm going to get my way and this is what I'm going to do. And that mom and dad don't like, because I try to tell my kids all the time, like, you know, the line of where like, this hurts me a lot more than it hurts you. Like when we would spank your kids, like, yes, I grew up being spanked. No, I'm not in therapy for it. But like, it is a true statement because they want to do the fun things with you too. Like and that's what the kids don't understand is like, I want to see you have fun at Susie's party. I want you to experience that fun thing. And then when I have to take that away from you, like it sucks for me because I miss out too. And I think that the parents were slowly, and I know I'm totally guilty of it because I'm like, well, we're here anyway. And, you know, like, oh my God, it would be such a pain to not let her play in this game. And I'm letting the team down and all these other parents. But it's hard, but it's being intentional about it.
What is your perspective on technology? Because again, I think we kind of touched on that before we got on the podcast, but you know, she's just saying it's hard. It's that whole get off your iPad or get off your video, you know, your gaming system, whatever. I mean, I used to hear all the time, let me finish my match, you know, like my Fortnite boys back in the day.
Yeah.
But it is something that like you have to have boundaries because if you don't, they're going to walk all over you with that.
Yeah. Well, boundaries are a key part of discipleship. Jesus, like even back to the garden, boundaries were established, right? They had the garden that was where they were to dwell, subdue the earth, and maybe even push the boundaries of it and expand it. However, there have always been boundaries. Like God has set that up for his people over and over again. Like you look at the 10 Commandments or just like Jesus summarizing that in the 2 laws of the new covenant of love God and love others with with your heart, mind, and spirit. There are clear boundaries that God set up for us and it's for our good. That's the benefit of, I think a lot of people view Christianity from the outside in of like, oh, it's so many rules and it's so many whatever. And it's like, man, like he gives boundaries for me to have a freeness and a fullness that you otherwise could not experience. And the same applies to discipleship in the home with our kids is I want to set up healthy boundaries where they've got freedom to fail, freedom to make some mistakes. I'm going to loosen my grip as they get older. I'm going to let go of control and let them start flexing some muscles that maybe make me a little bit uncomfortable. And yet it's all within healthy boundaries and technology has to fit into that. The scary part is, and there's a book, we were talking about this before, a book called Raising Tech Healthy Humans, not a Christian book, but a science-based book that it's awesome. Highly recommend. And it walks through some of those boundaries just based on science that our kids need. And one of the tensions is there's a lot of new stuff coming out, technologically speaking, and most people want to be the early adopters. Like there's like you feel like you're winning if you had the first iPhone or the first whatever. And as Christians, there are areas where we should really dive in and be full steam ahead. Technology is not one of them. We should be slow adopters and really wait and see like, hey, how is this affecting people? And what is this leading them into? And so for us, we've got several boundaries on technology in our home. One, there's a certain amount of TV that our kids can have at any given time, and that's based on age. And so our 2-year-old versus our 8-year-old, their expectations are different. The boundaries are different because they're different ages. The other piece is, and this is what we were talking about earlier too, is we have a boundary in our home that our kids are not going to have smartphones, not just until we think they're ready, but until we feel ready to have the pornography conversation, to have the conversation about how phones misuse and mislead people. And also knowing that social media has dramatic effects on kids, especially young women. And the impact that it has is startling. And you'll even see that CEOs and owners of these companies have massive boundaries on their own home.
Yeah.
You can look up like the owner, like the CEO of Google, and like what he says about the expectations he has had in his home.
Wasn't there a documentary or something that came out that like it really did it? Like Meta CEO came out and they were like, we don't even have this in our house.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, it's that bad for your own family. And yet, so you remove it from them, but it's widely available for us. I think one of the things that families struggle with, and especially parents, are asking for help. One, we don't know where to ask for help. And then two, we don't know how to ask for help, as in like help me, but you need more specific, like help me with how I'm like following through on consequences or whatever. But how can parents, what are some ways that parents can find other parents to disciple them? Because I know that's super important, is seeing the example in others. And I love our parents. Our parents are amazing. Family members, in-laws, fantastic. Brother and sister-in-laws, fantastic. But sometimes you need somebody that is not in that inner circle. You need outside help, somebody looking in and going, okay, this is what I'm seeing, or this is how it worked. But how do you find that if you're looking for a mentor as a parent?
Yeah, I mean, the primary place that I would hope we would look is within the local church. Like if you are listening to this podcast, you probably are listening with intent. And so the hope is that you're plugged into a local church, not just watching on YouTube, not just listening to podcasts. All of those are great supplemental resources, but they're not meant to be primary. And so for us to have a biblical community that we're attached to, that's the place to look. And that community should have discipleship as a core mission for them, because it's a core mission for the church.
Yeah.
Meaning that you should be able to go to a church leader and say, hey, I need to be discipled. What does that look like? Who do I go to? Doesn't need to be a church staff member. They don't have the bandwidth to disciple everybody in the church.
Right.
Yeah.
But they should know some people who are like, man, I'm discipling this person and they're ready. So like, let's have them disciple you, or somebody further along. Really, that what I am looking for in somebody to disciple me is, do you have a walk with Jesus that's further along than mine? Not have you been walking together longer, because that some people walk at different speeds.
Yep.
But are you further along in your journey with Jesus than I am? Great. Show me the way. And if the aim is primarily, I want to disciple my kids, there are parents out there that have been doing this. And I would say looking within the church body should be the primary place. And I say this hesitantly because I don't want people to just like pull the ripcord and leave their churches. But if discipleship doesn't have any opportunity in your local church, that would be a check engine light for me on the church that I'm participating in.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yes. Well, my husband and we have been part of a small group for the last couple of years, and that has been fantastic. But what I find is like, I'm like, oh, this is the getting deeper part. Like we thought that like, okay, church on Sunday, got the sermon, and this is a part where I can get deeper. And it certainly has been. But what I'm realizing now is that all of those, we're all at the same stage. Like, so where's, and so we're talking about expanding our small group. And I was like, we need like a family that is, the grandparents that can say, okay, guys, reel it back in. Here we are, because we need to be discipled. It's not just like, I want those people who are in the trenches with me, but then like, I got to find the people who have been in or out of the trenches and have survived it.
Yeah.
And so that's my own personal to-do list reminder, but trying to find somebody that is, because, and Tracy for me is a lot of that, because she is a few teenagers ahead of me on that, which is great. But two, like, you feel like you're surviving.
Yeah, right. That is true.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, let me tell you what.
Yeah. We want the empty nesters. Can the empty nesters stand up? Like, please? Like, so we can
Come on.
Put your hand up.
They've got the free time. They've never been freer than this moment.
Exactly.
And I mean, I'll just say, for those empty nesters that probably aren't even listening to this podcast because they're empty nesters,
Yeah.
but
God bless you.
well, they're probably like, man, that was a hard 20 years. I'm out. Like, give me a break.
I'm done.
I'm retired.
Well, 7 to 10 years from now, Tracy and Tori are going to have a podcast for you.
Yes, speak that into existence. Because I keep telling her, I was like, girl, this is going to continue to be something. But right now, we just got to ride the wave because it is hard to keep showing up. You know, but we've said, like, the Lord just keeps presenting us with people and ideas and topics. So we know that the mission is there.
Yeah.
But the mission obviously is at home first. And it's like, this is that secondary. And it is, we're keeping it going. But it's hard.
It's really, yeah.
But now you've just given us a little vision. So you gave us a little oomph.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Josh.
We're going to text you for the affirmation. Tell us that we're in this for the long haul.
Come on. That's awesome.
Okay. What other big takeaway do you specifically address besides that it takes a village to raise a parent in your book? What is one of the other big pieces that people need to hear?
Yeah, I think it's the idea of failing forward. You're not going to be the perfect parent. It's not going to happen. You could be an incredible disciple maker of your home, and you're still going to give your kids some level of baggage. It's going to happen. But the goal is to shepherd their hearts closer to Jesus. And if we've got that destination in mind, which is really the priority, is like, we need to know the destination we're parenting toward. And if I'm doing that, then I've got the ability and the capacity to, when I make mistakes, fail forward. And we already talked about one of the ways to do that effectively is to own your own weakness and seek forgiveness from your kids when you mess up, and seek forgiveness from your spouse when you mess up in front of your kids and they see it. They also need to see the redemption and reconciliation and the humility in that. Another way that we can fail forward, because I'll use we liberally, but we don't like to let people know that we don't have it all together. One of the big reasons that people don't go into discipling relationships is, well, what if they ask a question I don't know the answer to? Which, let me just make a promise, it will happen. Like, it will absolutely happen.
Or if they only knew the skeletons in my closet, like, they wouldn't want me to disciple them.
That
right?
too. So that's another part of it. And so the first part is, well, I don't have all the answers. And we need to just learn, one, you were never designed, created, or meant to have all the answers.
Amen.
You don't sweat it when your kid says, why are strawberries red? Right? And you just figure it out, right? In the same way with theological questions, when they ask, like, why does sin or evil exist in the world? Well, you might not be equipped in this moment. I pray that you will be, but you might not be in this moment to be able to answer that. That's fine. There's a phrase that I want parents to learn and to just kind of grasp onto. And it goes like this: I don't know, but let's find out together. It's saying, I don't have the answer. That's humility, but you don't leave it there. Like, that would be not discipleship. That's just like kind of like drive-by conversation. It's, all right, let's figure it out together. And then you dive into the word together and you research, and now you're equipping them, and you pray together and you discern together. Now you're equipping them to understand the word. You're teaching them to fish rather than just giving it to them. And then the other side of that was, well, I've got a messy background. So it's not just like, hey, I'm Josh, I'm a pastor of 180 Life Church. It's, yeah, I'm Josh, who's 13 years sober and struggled with alcoholism for a part of my journey. And being able to take that as a testimony for my kids. Now, age appropriate, right? Like, my 8-year-old's still not quite old enough to grasp alcoholism. But if you were to say, hey, was dad a little bit wild before he knew Jesus? She would be like, yeah, he made some big mistakes. And she doesn't know all the mistakes, but she knows that I had wayward years where Jesus all the while was wooing me back to himself. And when she is old enough and it is appropriate, she's going to hear that full testimony.
Yeah.
Because if I had the testimony, I had the miracle. And this happens in discipleship all the time, where people are like, well, I'm not good enough, or I'm not whatever. It's like, you weren't, but you're qualified not through your own actions or inactions or brokenness. You're qualified through Christ. And he calls us in the same way that he hid us in himself. And so for parents to know, like, hey, your testimony is for God's glory, and it's not meant to be hidden. Be appropriate with it. Like, there's some things that your 3-year-old just does not need to know yet. there's permission, and I would say even a calling to walk through the messy parts of your story as your kid is raised up, because you're, one, showing humility, two, being honest about your relationship with Jesus, and three, helping them see pitfalls and roadblocks that they otherwise might not see. That's really important.
That's so good.
That is really good.
We need to get your book in our hand. It was released just this summer. Is that right? Sorry, we've had a couple months off.
Yeah, you're good. It was released end of May. So yeah, over the summer.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And that anyone can find on Amazon, correct?
Yeah, on Amazon. And I'll also say there are a ton of really good books out there. And so we're not the end all be all. There's Loving Your Kids on Purpose by Danny Silk. That is unbelievably good. Totally transformed my parenting. And for parents with teenagers, unless you are a new Christian, that might be the better buy for you right now. Like it's so good. Raising Tech Healthy Humans is another one. Like there are so many out there. And really, here is the big piece that I would kind of push back on listeners is, do not grab one of these resources and read it by yourself. Like, bring your spouse along if you're married. Like, that's such a great opportunity to press in and get aligned. If you're not aligned in your parenting, you coming into alignment with God is beautiful and good. It's going to be rough. Like, it's going to be a hard road. And getting your marriage in alignment with God too is really important. And so I would say whatever resource you go through, bring your spouse along, because that is a gift that you are offering your kids if your marriage is in alignment.
Amen.
Yes. And I want to say this, because when I hear the word intentional, that overwhelms me as a person, because it's I need to be thinking about, this needs to be a secondary thought. Like, this needs to be in my mind all the time as I'm parenting. But I want, and I'm probably saying this for my own more so accountability than anything else, which, thanks God, on a national platform. Great. This won't be saved and shared. There's the fact of it's not, the intentionality is not to be overwhelming. It's the intentionality of being an example, is that it's almost right. The saying, more is caught than taught. Right. Mm-hmm. And as long as you know what, I can screw up royally parenting all the time. But when you hear your kid repeat something that you said to another person and you're like, hey, they do listen, that kind of thing, where I'm thinking okay, maybe if the first step for me is just being more aware and saying, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Sorry. I'm sorry. Because I'm thinking in my head, I have a certain being under my roof that the hardest words to say are, I was wrong and I am sorry. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so maybe those need to be the words that I say most often, because
they'll catch on.
Yeah. Because they don't know how to.
That's good.
So I'm throwing that out there. I don't know, but that was just intentional, just made me feel so overwhelmed. Great. One more thing I have to focus on when I'm parenting, right? Okay, great. We have to practice math and I have to be intentional parenting and not yell at you for this. So anyways.
A whole nother episode is parenting your kids with homework.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we'll get we'll do an episode with you on that one when you get to homework.
Oh, beautiful.
A little bit ahead of one homework.
Well, it's amazing to listen to us banter back and forth too. But yes, go ahead and let our listeners know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find us at parentingagainstthecurrent.com. The book is on Amazon. Hopefully it's easy to find. It's also on Audible, because if you read like me, you read while you're driving. I think that's how most parents do it.
Yes, amen.
So yeah, and you can also email us at parentingagainstthecurrent@gmail.com.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Josh, for your time, your energy, your efforts, and all you're doing for the kingdom, and many blessings to your church and your family. And we just thank you for your time.
And we're really excited about helping you with part 2 and telling you all the ways that you really messed up. We're happy to give you all those examples.
That's beautiful. I'll send you guys an email.
Great. Well, thank you so much, housewives. And until next time, bye.
Whether we made you laugh or cry today, we pray you feel appreciated, bolder and braver than yesterday, stronger and more faithful for tomorrow, and living in who you were made to be today.
Join our online community on Facebook, link in the show notes. And be sure to review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy listening. Until next time, housewives, we give you permission to walk confidently, free, and to be intentional in your slippers or stilettos.